Welcome back to Harborview Cove Mysteries. I'm Vera Vining, and tonight's episode brings long-buried truths into the light. What began as a missing logbook has grown into something far larger, a web of secrets stretching back generations. Altered lives, and justice delayed, but not forgotten. In this episode, Nora Hartwell follows the final threads of the mystery, uncovering who was willing to kill to protect the past. And why. Settle in. Let the noise of the day fade away, and join me for episode 4 of The Lighthouse Keeper's Secret. The Harborview Inn sat on a bluff overlooking the water, a beautifully restored colonial with a wraparound porch and gardens that were the envy of the town. Patricia and James Whitmore had bought it 15 years ago, transformed it from a run-down boarding house into one of the finest bed and breakfasts on the Maine coast. Nora had called ahead, asking for a few minutes of Patricia's time. The woman who answered the phone had been gracious but curious. What did Nora need to discuss? Just some questions about local history, Nora had said, which was true enough. Now, standing in the inn's elegant lobby with its polished floors and fresh flowers, she felt slightly guilty about the deception. But not guilty enough to turn back. Patricia Whitmore emerged from the office behind the reception desk, a striking woman in her early 50s, with silver blonde hair pulled back in an elegant twist and kind hazel eyes. She wore a casual but expensive outfit that somehow looked perfect, and her smile was warm. Nora Hartwell, I heard you were back in town. Welcome home. She came around the desk to shake hands. Though I have to admit, when you said you wanted to talk about local history, I didn't expect you to come all the way out here. Wouldn't the library have been easier? I wanted to talk to you specifically, Nora said. About Michael Chen. Patricia's smile froze. For just a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Pain, fear, memory. Then she composed herself with visible effort. I see. Her voice was carefully neutral. Perhaps we should talk in my private sitting room. Would you like tea? That would be lovely. The sitting room was on the second floor, a cozy space with a view of the ocean. Patricia made tea with the practiced ease of someone who'd done it thousands of times, her hands steady despite the tension in her shoulders. They sat in comfortable chairs by the window. The morning sun streamed in, making everything look peaceful and safe. Appearances, Nora was learning, could be very deceiving. How much do you know? Patricia asked quietly. I know Michael was investigating the founding families before he died. I know he'd found a letter from Marcus's great-great-grandfather describing crimes he witnessed. And I know you were dating Michael at the time. Nora paused. What I don't know is what Michael told you. Or what you did with that information. Patricia set down her teacup with a soft clink. You think I had something to do with his death? Did you? No. The word was firm, immediate. I loved Michael. We were planning to get married. His death destroyed me. She looked out the window, blinking back tears. But you're right that I knew what he was investigating. He told me everything. He was excited, Nora. He thought he was going to expose the truth, make people see what really happened. He had no idea how dangerous it was. Did you warn him? I tried. Patricia's voice cracked. I told him to be careful, to maybe let it go. But Michael was... He was passionate about justice, about truth. He wouldn't stop. She wiped her eyes. The night before he disappeared, we had dinner at my family's house. My father, Robert Hartford, was there. Michael couldn't help himself. He started asking questions about the founding families, about Captain Crawford, about what my great-great-grandfather might have known. Nora's heart was racing. What did your father say? He got angry. Really angry. Told Michael to stop stirring up old troubles, that some things were better left buried. They argued. Michael stormed out. Patricia looked at Nora with haunted eyes. That was the last time I saw him alive. Did you tell the police this? I tried. But by the time I realized Michael was missing, by the time they found his body, the official story was already set. Accidental drowning. Samuel Prescott, the police chief, he came to my house personally. Told me it would be better for everyone if I didn't make trouble. Better for Michael's family, better for my family, better for the town. She laughed bitterly. Better for the founding families, he meant. So you stayed quiet. I was 22 years old and terrified. Patricia's hands trembled. My father made it very clear that if I spoke up, if I caused problems, I would regret it. And I was grieving. I couldn't think straight. So yes, I stayed quiet. And I've regretted it every day for 30 years. Nora believed her. The pain in Patricia's voice was real, raw even after all this time. Your father, Nora said carefully. Is he still alive? He died 10 years ago. Heart attack? Patricia met her eyes. I can't prove he was involved in Michael's death. But I know he knew something. And I know he was willing to threaten his own daughter to keep it quiet. What about the other founding families? The Prescotts? The Whitcombs? The Sullivans? They all knew. They all protected each other. Patricia stood, pacing to the window. That's how it worked, you see. The 5 families, they had an understanding. When one of them had a problem, they all helped solve it. When one of them had a secret, they all helped keep it. That's how they maintained their power, their position. By standing together. Even if it meant covering up murder. Even then. Nora thought about Bea, about the pain of carrying that legacy. What was in that captain's log that was so dangerous? I don't know specifically. Michael never got to tell me. But from what he'd discovered in his research, from what that letter suggested, Patricia turned back to face her. The founding families were involved in the slave trade. Not directly, they were too smart for that, after abolition. But they facilitated it, provided ships, transport, protection. For a price. The words hung in the air, heavy and damning. Captain Crawford found out, Patricia continued. He was just the hired captain, not part of their inner circle. When he realized what cargo he was transporting, he tried to stop. Threatened to expose them. So they killed him and made it look like he was lost at sea. And 200 years later, someone is still protecting that secret. Yes. Patricia came back to sit down, suddenly looking exhausted. Nora, I don't know who stole that log. But I can tell you this. There are still people in this town who benefit from keeping the founding family's reputation intact. Old money. Old power. Old connections. They're not going to let that go easily. After leaving the inn, Nora sat in her car for a long moment, processing everything Patricia had told her. The founding families had been slavers. They'd killed Captain Crawford to silence him. They'd killed Michael Chen for the same reason. And they'd spent 2 centuries protecting that secret, maintaining their power, ensuring their descendants never had to face the truth. But now the truth was coming out. The question was, who was trying to stop it this time? Nora drove straight to the library, hoping to catch Bee before the afternoon rush. But when she arrived, she found Lucas's patrol car parked out front. Something was wrong. She hurried inside to find a small crowd of patrons murmuring nervously while Lucas stood near the circulation desk, talking intently on his phone. When he saw Nora, he ended the call and came over. "What's happened?" she asked. "We found something." His expression was grim. Dr. Webb's laptop was recovered this morning. Someone tried to sell it at a pawn shop in Portland. The pawnbroker got suspicious and called the police. That's good news, isn't it? There's more. Lucas lowered his voice. The laptop still had deleted files on it. Our tech guy recovered them, including email correspondence between Dr. Webb and someone at the library about the log. Someone who had detailed knowledge of the building's security systems. The alarm schedule. Everything. Nora's stomach sank. B. I need to bring her in for questioning. Officially. Lucas looked pained. I'm sorry, Nora. I know she's your friend. She didn't do it, Nora said automatically. But even as she said it, doubt crept in. The emails. The knowledge. The access. Where is she? In her office. I asked her to wait there while I called my chief. Lucas straightened his shoulders. I have to do this by the book. Nora watched as Lucas went to Bee's office. Through the glass window, she saw Bee's face go pale. Saw her stand. Saw her hands shake as Lucas explained something. Bee looked toward the library entrance, meeting Nora's eyes across the distance. She looked betrayed, frightened, guilty, or maybe just terrified of being blamed for something she didn't do. Lucas emerged with Bee a few minutes later, his hand gently on her elbow. Not cuffed, not yet, but clearly in custody. The patrons fell silent, watching. I need to contact my lawyer, Bee said, her voice surprisingly steady. Of course. You can call from the station. Lucas caught Nora's eye. I'll call you later. They left, and the library erupted in whispers. Nora stood frozen, her mind racing. The emails. Someone had communicated with Dr. Webb from the library. But that didn't necessarily mean Bee. The library had public computers, staff computers, an assistant who worked there. Who else had access? She thought about Bee's mention of her assistant, a young woman named Sarah Chen. Chen. Michael's last name. Marcus's family name. Was that a coincidence? Nora pulled out her phone and called Marcus. Nora? I heard they arrested Bee. Marcus, does your family still live in Harborview? Cousins, nieces, anyone? Yeah. My cousin Richard has 3 kids. Why? One of them named Sarah? A pause. Sarah's his youngest. She's 24, just graduated from library school. She got a job as Bee's assistant last year. Nora, what's this about? I just need to talk to her. Do you have her number? I do, but Nora, Sarah's a good kid. She wouldn't be involved in anything criminal. I'm not accusing her. I just need to ask her some questions. Marcus gave her the number reluctantly. Be gentle. She's shy. Nora promised she would be, then hung up and dialed Sarah. The phone rang 4 times before a tentative voice answered. Hello? Sarah Chen? I'm Nora Hartwell. I'm a friend of your Uncle Marcus. I was wondering if we could talk. About B? Sarah's voice was sharp. I already told Officer Bennett everything I know. I'm sure you did. But I have some different questions. Can we meet? Maybe at the bookshop? I promise this won't take long. Silence. Then, okay. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Sarah Chen was small and dark-haired, with large, nervous eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She came into the seaside page looking like she'd rather be anywhere else, clutching a messenger bag like a shield. Maeve made tea, her solution to all problems, and settled Sarah in one of the comfortable chairs. Nora sat across from her. Thank you for coming, Nora began. I know this is difficult. Is B going to jail? Sarah asked bluntly. I don't know. But I don't think she stole the log. And I'm trying to prove it. Nora leaned forward. Sarah, you work at the library. You have access to the same systems B does. The emails they found on Dr. Webb's laptop. Could someone have sent them from the library without B knowing? Sarah bit her lip. The public computers require a login. But the staff computers? She trailed off. Could be used by anyone with access to the staff area. I guess. But B and I are the only ones who work there regularly. Sarah twisted her hands together. I didn't send those emails. I swear I didn't. I believe you. And Nora did. Sarah was too genuinely distressed to be acting. But Sarah, Nora continued gently, someone did. Someone who knew about the security system being down. Who knew when Dr. Webb was bringing the log? Who had access to send emails from the library? Who else could that be? I don't know. Sarah's voice was small. Maybe someone on the board? They have keys. Or the maintenance people. They come in after hours sometimes. What about the night of the theft? Were you working? No. I'd gone home early because B said we wouldn't be busy after the exhibition. Sarah looked miserable. I should have stayed. Maybe if I'd been there, maybe I would have seen something. Or maybe she would have been in danger. Sarah, Nora said gently, your Uncle Michael. Do you know what happened to him? The girl's eyes filled with tears. He was murdered. Officer Bennett came to talk to my dad yesterday. Told him they're reopening the case. My dad always said Uncle Michael didn't just drown. He said Uncle Michael was asking questions that made people nervous. Did your father ever tell you what questions? About our family history. About something his grandfather had witnessed. Sarah wiped her eyes. About the founding families. And the things they did. Does your father still have any of that family history? Letters, documents, anything? Uncle Marcus has most of it. But my dad kept copies of some things. He showed them to me when I got the job at the library. Said I should know our family's truth. She looked up at Nora. That's why I became a librarian. Because of Uncle Michael. Because libraries are supposed to preserve truth, not hide it. Nora felt a surge of admiration for this young woman. Sarah, I think someone is trying to frame B. Someone who knew about your family's history. Who knew about the log? Who had access to the library systems? Someone who benefits from keeping the founding family's secrets buried. But who? That's what I'm trying to figure out. After Sarah left, Nora sat with Maeve in the quiet bookshop. Both of them thinking. The board, Maeve said suddenly. B mentioned the library board knew about the security maintenance. Who's on that board? Nora pulled out her phone and searched the library's website. The board members were listed. Thomas Prescott, Chair. Eleanor Whitcomb, Vice Chair. Robert Sullivan, Treasurer. Janet Hartwell, Secretary. Dr. Patricia Whitmore, Member at Large. Nora stared at the list, her heart sinking. 4 of the 5 board members represented founding families, and the 5th, Janet Hartwell, was Nora's own cousin. The founding families controlled the library board, which meant they controlled access to the building, knowledge of the security systems, oversight of everything that happened there. And any one of them could have sent those emails from a library computer during a board meeting. Nora? Maeve's voice was concerned. You've gone very pale. The board, Nora said. It's all founding family members. They've been controlling the narrative this whole time. But which one stole the log? I don't know. But I know who might be able to tell me. Thomas Prescott did not look pleased to find Nora on his doorstep again. Miss Hartwell. Officer Bennett isn't with you this time, I see. No. This is personal. Nora met his cold gaze. Your father covered up Michael Chen's murder. You helped him. And now you're on the library board. The board that knew about the security maintenance. That had access to send those emails being used to frame B. Sullivan. Are you accusing me of theft? I'm accusing you of protecting a 200-year-old conspiracy. Nora's anger was rising. How many more people have to die before you face the truth? Captain Crawford. Michael Chen. Maybe my own father. Your father's death was an accident, Prescott said sharply. How do you know? He faltered. For just a moment. It was investigated. By you? By your father? By other people who benefited from keeping secrets buried? Nora stepped closer. Mr. Prescott, I don't think you stole the log. I think you're too smart for that. But I think you know who did. And I think you've been protecting them. Prescott's jaw tightened. For a long moment they stood in silence. Then he sighed. A sound of exhaustion. Of defeat. Of a man carrying too many secrets for too long. Come inside, he said quietly. This time he led her to his study. A masculine room lined with books. Leather furniture. A large desk. He poured himself a bourbon. Did not offer her one. Drank half of it. Then sat heavily. Your father, he said finally, was investigating the founding families. He came to my father. Asked questions. My father warned him to stop. Your father didn't listen. Nora's hands clenched. Did you kill him? No. Prescott looked at her directly. But I knew his car was tampered with. I knew it wasn't just bad luck on black ice. And I said nothing. Because my father told me that keeping the peace in this town was more important than one man's life. The room spun. Nora grabbed the back of a chair for support. You're telling me my father was murdered? I'm telling you that 30 years ago. Powerful people in this town would do anything to protect their families' reputations. And that I was young and stupid enough to go along with it. Prescott finished his bourbon. I've regretted it every day since. Who killed him? I don't know. My father never told me. Just said it was handled. He set down his glass. Miss Hartwell, I didn't steal that log. But I know who did. And I know why they're framing B. Sullivan. Tell me. Eleanor Whitcomb. He said the name like a confession. She's the vice chair of the library board. She was at every meeting where the security issues were discussed. She had access to the library computers. And her family has the most to lose from the truth coming out. Why? Because Eleanor's great-great-grandfather, William Whitcomb, was the one who killed Captain Crawford. It's documented in family letters. Letters Eleanor showed me once. Years ago. She wanted to be sure I understood why we needed to maintain our alliance. Crawford was going to the authorities. William lured him to the harbor, drowned him, and made it look like an accident. Prescott stood, pacing. Eleanor is obsessed with preserving her family's legacy. When she found out about the log coming to the library, she panicked. But why frame B? Because B is a Sullivan? Captain Crawford was married to a Sullivan. Eleanor has always resented that the Sullivan family's reputation wasn't tarnished along with Crawford's. He laughed bitterly. She thought it was poetic justice. B's family benefits from lying about Crawford's death. So B should take the fall for trying to hide the truth about it. That is insane. That's Eleanor. Prescott met her eyes. She's in her 70s now. But she's still sharp. Still ruthless. And she won't go down without a fight. Then I guess it's time to fight. Nora went straight to the police station, demanding to see Lucas. When he emerged, looking exhausted, she launched into everything Prescott had told her. Lucas listened. His expression grew grimmer with each revelation. Can Prescott testify to this? He asked when she finished. I think so. He seemed relieved, actually. Like he'd been waiting for someone to force the truth out. We'll need more than his word. Lucas ran a hand through his hair. But if we can prove Eleanor Whitcomb had access to the library computers, if we can place her at the library on the night of the theft, if we can connect her to the stolen laptop. She's in her 70s. Nora frowned. How did she pull off a theft that required climbing through windows and disabling display cases? Maybe she had help? Or maybe she didn't need to climb anything. Lucas pulled out a file. The security footage from the library. The backup system that runs separately from the main alarms. It caught something interesting. A woman entering through the back door with a key at 7:43 p.m. on the night of the theft. She knew exactly where to go. Exactly what she was doing. Can you identify her? Not clearly. She wore a hat. Kept her face down. But the build, the height. He pulled out a still frame from the footage. Could be Eleanor Whitcomb. Nora studied the image. It could be. But it could also be a dozen other women. We need more, she said. I know. Lucas set down the photo. I'm going to search Eleanor's house. Get a warrant. Do it properly. If she still has the log? If there's any evidence connecting her to the theft, she won't have kept it at her house. Nora shook her head. She's too smart for that. Then where? Nora thought hard. Where would you hide a stolen historical document? Somewhere safe. Somewhere climate-controlled. Somewhere with historical significance. The Whitcomb family estate, she said suddenly. Eleanor doesn't live there anymore. The main house is a museum now. Open for tours. But there's a separate building. An archive. The family keeps their historical documents there. Temperature controlled. Secure. How do you know about it? My mother took me there when I was a kid. Janet Hartwell, my cousin. She volunteers there sometimes. Nora grabbed Lucas's arm. That's where Eleanor would hide it. Among her own family's papers. Where it would be protected. And where no one would think to look. Lucas was already reaching for his phone. I'll get a warrant. 2 hours later, Nora stood outside the Whitcomb estate with Lucas, his chief, and 2 other officers. The warrant had been rushed through. The judge had known Nora's father. Had been horrified by Prescott's confession about the tampered car. Eleanor Whitcomb met them at the door. Regal. Furious. This is outrageous, she said. Her voice was cold. I am a respected member of this community. How dare you? We have a warrant to search the archives, the chief said, handing her the paperwork. Please step aside, Mrs. Whitcomb. Eleanor's face went white. But she held her ground. There's nothing in the archives except family documents. This is harassment. Then you have nothing to worry about, Lucas said, already moving past her. The archives were in a separate building behind the main house, a modern, climate-controlled structure designed to preserve historical papers. Eleanor followed them, protesting every step, threatening lawsuits, political consequences. But when they opened the archive's main vault, they found it. The captain's log, carefully preserved in an acid-free box, hidden among hundreds of other Whitcomb family documents. That's not mine, Eleanor said immediately. Someone must have planted it. I've never seen it before. Then you won't mind if we check the security logs, the chief said. This building has electronic access records. We'll be able to see exactly who's been in here. Eleanor's mask finally cracked. You don't understand. That log, it would have destroyed everything. Everything my family built. Everything we've protected for 200 years. By committing murder? Nora couldn't stay quiet anymore. By killing Captain Crawford. Michael Chen. My father. I didn't kill anyone, Eleanor shouted. I just took a book. A book that should never have been made public. A book that would have destroyed 5 families. Torn this town apart. The truth would have done that, Nora said. You did it to save your own reputation. To save my family's legacy. Eleanor looked at them all with desperation. Do you know what it's like, living with the knowledge of what your ancestors did? Carrying that shame, that guilt. Generation after generation. We've worked so hard to be better. To make up for it. To build something good from something terrible. That log would have undone all of it. Your great-great-grandfather murdered Captain Crawford, Lucas said. That's in the log, isn't it? Eleanor's shoulders sagged. Defeat. Yes. William Whitcomb killed Samuel Crawford. He bragged about it in his private letters. Letters I burned years ago because I couldn't bear anyone seeing them. But the log. Crawford documented everything. The slave trade. The conspiracy. William's threat. If that got out? Justice might finally be served, Nora said. 200 years late, but still justice. Eleanor Whitcomb was arrested that evening. As officers led her away, she looked at Nora with something that might have been understanding, or maybe just exhaustion. Your father, Eleanor said quietly. He was a good man. I'm sorry about what happened to him. Did you kill him? No. But I know who did. Thomas Prescott's father, Samuel. It was his idea. His plan. He said it had to be done to protect all the families. She paused. If it helps. I don't think Thomas knew until after. He was just as horrified as you are now. It didn't help. Nothing could help. But at least now Nora knew the truth. Bea was released that evening. All charges dropped. Nora was waiting when she emerged from the police station. Bea walked straight into her arms. I thought I was going to jail, she whispered. I thought no one would believe me. I believed you, Nora said. I'm sorry I doubted you. Even for a moment. You found the truth. Bea pulled back, wiping her eyes. That's what matters? Is it really over? The theft cases. Eleanor confessed. The log is being returned to Dr. Webb. He's arranging for it to be properly archived and made available to historians. Nora hesitated. But there's more. About Michael Chen. About my father. About what the founding families did. She told Bea everything. The slave trade. The murders. The conspiracy that had lasted 2 centuries. Bea listened in silence. Her face grew paler with each revelation. My family, Bea said finally. Captain Crawford's wife, Eliza Sullivan. She must have known the truth about how he died. She must have lived with that knowledge. Lied to her children. Protected the very people who murdered her husband. Or she was forced to, Nora said softly. Threatened into silence. Like so many others. Still. Bea looked out at the harbor. The lighthouse beam swept steadily across the water. All these years, I thought our family's shame was being connected to a coward. A man who abandoned his wife and children. Now I find out we're connected to a hero. A man who tried to do the right thing and was murdered for it. You can reclaim that legacy, Nora said. Tell Captain Crawford's real story. Let people know the truth. We both can, Bea said. Your family's story too. The Hartwells may have been involved in terrible things, But your father tried to expose it. That counts for something. They stood together in the evening light, two women from founding families, finally facing the truth their ancestors had tried so hard to bury. It wasn't a comfortable truth, but it was truth nonetheless. The next morning, Nora met Marcus at the Harbor Cafe. The place was busy with the usual breakfast crowd, but Marcus had saved her a seat at the counter. "I heard they arrested Eleanor Whitcomb," he said, pouring her coffee, "and that they're officially calling Michael's death a homicide now." "Yes. It'll take time to build a case against Samuel Prescott's estate, but they're trying. Thomas Prescott has agreed to testify about what his father told him." Marcus's hands shook slightly as he set down the coffee pot. 30 years. 30 years of not knowing, of wondering. And now. He trailed off. "I'm sorry it took so long," Nora said softly. "Don't be sorry. You found the truth. You gave my brother justice." Marcus wiped his eyes. "Thank you, Nora. Truly." She stayed for breakfast. One of Marcus's perfect omelets, toast with his grandmother's jam. They talked about happier things. About the bookshop. About the spring weather. About normal life. Because that's what healing looked like. Not forgetting, but learning to live alongside the truth. That evening, after the shop had closed, Nora and Maeve sat in the reading nook, with glasses of wine, Agatha the cat purring on Nora's lap. "So," Maeve said, "you solved your first Harborview mystery." "I had a lot of help," Nora replied. "From you. From Lucas. From people willing to finally tell the truth." "What happens now?" "Now?" Nora sipped her wine. "Now the town has to figure out how to live with its history. Dr. Webb is working with local historians to document everything properly. There's talk of a memorial for Captain Crawford and Michael Chen. Some of the founding family's descendants are coming forward with their own stories." "And you?" Maeve asked. "I'm going to keep running my bookshop. Keep living in this town that I love, despite its flaws." Nora smiled. "And maybe, just maybe, if another mystery comes along, I'll investigate that too." Maeve laughed softly. "God help us all." Says the woman with her own mysterious past. Maeve's smile faded slightly. "Everyone has secrets, Nora. I know. And I know you'll tell me yours when you're ready." Nora raised her glass. "To truth, whenever it decides to surface. And to friendship, which helps us face it." They clinked glasses. Outside, the lighthouse beam swept across the harbor, steady and true. A beacon in the darkness. A reminder that some lights can never be extinguished, no matter how hard people try to hide them. 1 week later, the Harborview Historical Society held a special meeting. The agenda was simple: how to incorporate the newly discovered information into the town's official history. Dr. Webb presented his findings. B. Sullivan provided context about Captain Crawford. Marcus Chen spoke about his brother, Michael. And Thomas Prescott, surprising everyone, stood up and confessed his family's role in covering up Michael's murder. It was painful. It was uncomfortable. Some people left in anger. Some cried. Some sat in shocked silence. But when it was over, when the truth had finally been spoken aloud. In front of the whole town, something shifted. Not forgiveness. It was too soon for that. But acknowledgement. Recognition that the past had happened. That it mattered. That it could not be buried anymore. Nora sat in the back of the room, watching it all unfold. Watching her town begin to heal. Lucas sat beside her, in plain clothes, off duty. "You did good work," he said quietly. "We did good work," Nora corrected. "Fair enough." He smiled. "So, Detective Hartwell, what's next?" She thought about that. About the mysteries that lingered in every small town. About the secrets people carried. About the truth still waiting to be discovered. "I'm sure something will turn up," she said. And she was right. But that, as they say, is another story. Thank you for spending this time in Harborview Cove. Some truths take generations to uncover, but once they surface, they cannot be buried again. Nora's journey in the Lighthouse Keeper's secret has reached its end, but the town of Harborview Cove is only just beginning to reckon with its past. If you've enjoyed this story, please like this episode and subscribe, so you won't miss future mysteries from Harborview Cove. Until next time, rest easy, and remember, even the darkest secrets cannot escape the light forever.